Hello and welcome back to Honest Adoption Talk, a place where we talk honestly about adoption. We all know that adoption is complex, and if you didn't know, you have come to the right place. So thank you for being a part of this realization. Yesterday I did my intro video, but today I want to talk a little bit about adoption in this particular political climate. The question today came from a person by the name of Jessa, and she's from Colorado. And her question was, and is, my daughter was adopted from Ethiopia 6 years ago, so is she safe? She lives in the United States, adopted from Ethiopia. She wants to know if her daughter's safe. And so I want to first say that if your daughter had a completed adoption in both Ethiopia and also the U.S., which means she was readopted in the U.S., or whatever requirements were there for her to become a U.S. citizen was completed, then she is most likely safe. But you need to make sure that she has several things, not just now as a child, but when she is an adult as well. So you need to make sure there are several things that she has and she will have access to when she becomes an adult. So you guys need to remember that this immigration climate is very stressful, and it actually is a matter of color and race. And I know a lot of people are saying, no, it's not race related, it's not color related, but I guarantee that this particular immigration climate, the Muslim ban, and the 7+ countries that are basically on the list of banning immigrants to the United States, you never know if there'll be more countries that will be part of the ban. So you have to be careful. And in reality, it is a color thing and it is a race thing. But if you have an adoptee who doesn't have the proper paperwork but is not a person of color, they are most likely safe because there's no suspicion. In the U.S. currently, the people of color and those who are not white are considered immigrants or are considered illegal aliens. And so if you are white and if you've adopted a child from a predominantly white country, then most likely they are safe. You still want to make sure they have all the proper paperwork because at the age of 18, it is only right for you to give them everything that you have. They have a legal right to everything. But if you adopted same race and you happen to be white, then your children probably will not be flagged. So currently in the U.S., anyone who is not white, as I mentioned before, is considered an immigrant, an undocumented person, or an illegal alien. And yes, including Black Americans. So please keep that in mind. So Black Americans are even being flagged because the assumption is immigrants are of different colors and races. They're not white. And ironically, was the U.S. not kind of built on immigrants and built by African Americans? And those coming to the U.S. Basically took the land of those already living here. And so they technically are immigrants, but America doesn't see it that way. So that's not really what I wanted to get to, but I think it's an important thing to keep in mind as you teach your children about race and about diversity and who's an American, who's not, who's in and who's out, and why that's a problem. So keep that in mind as we talk. But today I just wanted to focus more on what adoptees should have to make sure that they are safe. First, you want to make sure your child, in this case the Ethiopian child, has a certificate of citizenship. Second, you want to make sure she has a passport. Passport is not enough to prove citizenship. Hear me out. A passport is not enough to prove citizenship. Third, you want to make sure you double check that the Social Security card that she has is listed as a citizen. Not listed as a permanent resident, not listed as a visitor, not listed as something special that's not American, but listed as a citizen. Fourth, you want to make sure that her amended birth certificate has your last name listed and the name of your husband or your wife or basically your spouse, so that all that is consistent. Fifth, you want to make sure that she has a copy of her original birth certificate from the country of her birth. So that when she is older and wants to go back and visit, if she chooses to reclaim part of those roots, she can do that through getting a birth certificate that is of her country. A lot of countries allow dual citizenship. She will probably have to decide at some point whether she wants to keep the American citizenship or have her Ethiopian citizenship. I'm not quite sure how every country works. I know that in Haiti in particular, now you're able to have dual citizenship, so they don't make you relinquish one or the other. So you're able to have dual citizenship. Sixth, make sure to have all the adoption papers, both for the U.S. and abroad. Make sure to have all the adoption papers with you in a secure place, and make sure that it is accurate and complete. Too often we have papers that are not accurate and are not complete. But let's talk a little bit about the costs of these things. Many adoptive parents won't complete these steps, mainly because it is too expensive. So what happens is when you don't complete the steps, you're putting your child, who will one day become an adult, at risk for deportation. And this is a big deal. And the prices are rising. So if you think they're expensive now, just wait until your children get older and become adults and have to file on their own. I can't stress this enough. Adoptive parents, it is your responsibility to make sure your child has everything they need in order to survive, live, and thrive. We'll talk about those three things in another segment. Survive, live, and also thrive. Cost of Certificate of Citizenship, or the N600, is $1,170. That's the cost of the N600, which is also called the Certificate of Citizenship. To get a passport or to renew a passport, if you're a first-time adult renewing a passport, it's about $140 for the book and also the card. For a child, it's about $95 for the regular, and then if you want it as fast track, you have to pay an extra $25. This is coming from USCIS.gov, and it's information that I just picked up real quickly to be able to help me with this particular segment. If you want to change or correct any information on the passport your child already has, for instance, if they wanted to go back to their original birth last name and you wanted to change that, it varies. Sometimes there's no cost for that, but sometimes I think it's up to about $114. Number 3, in order to check your Social Security card or your child's Social Security card, you don't have to pay a thing for that. That's free. I believe you get up to 3 changes for the Social Security card, 3 to 5 in a lifetime. So just be very careful as that card is changing, as you're updating information. You get about 3 to 5 lifetime according to the Social Security website. That doesn't have a cost. Number 4, you want to double check that the amended birth certificate has everything correctly written in it. Many times in overseas adoptions, the information is inputted incorrectly and sometimes even faked. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled. If you see any red flags, make sure you report it immediately. Don't hesitate. Report any red flags. Many birth certificates from overseas are actually fake, or the birth certificate of someone else. So many times adoptees overseas take on the personality and take on the life and the paperwork of another person. So make sure any red flags that come to it, make sure you report that and look into it. Any international adoptions, in many different international adoptions, you get to keep the original birth certificate. So if you are able to keep the original birth certificate, do not give it to anyone ever. make a copy of it, make sure you scan it, make sure you send that scan to yourself, make sure everything is done properly and that you have copies of everything and that you have originals of everything. Do not give an original of anything to anyone. If they ask for an original, give it to them. Stay at the window until they've made a copy and have returned it to you, or until they have given you proof or signed paperwork that says that you're getting that original back. I still wouldn't give any originals to anyone, because if you lose an original, it can cause a lot of problems for your children who become adults. Just keep that in mind. Right now you're thinking of your children, your cute little kids, but we become adults, and if you don't have the proper paperwork for us when we're kids, when we become adults, it's very, very difficult to get that information. So please, be the adoptive parent that you need to be, and make sure you have all the paperwork completed and everything in a secure place. You can also give some of the originals to trusted people. You can put it in a safe. Make sure everything you have is also available to your adopted child when they turn 18. By law, you have to give them everything when they turn 18 if they ask for it. They will need it at some point. Please keep that in mind. They will need it. They'll need pictures of them with you. They'll need paperwork. They'll need doctor's appointments if you have them. They'll need school records if you have them. Everything you have, please, 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 I beg you to make sure you keep it safe, and then you hand it over to your adopted child, the originals, to your adopted child when they turn 18 if they ask for it. So in 2001, the CCA, which was the Child Citizenship Act, was passed, and this allowed adoptees who were under the age of 18 to receive automatic citizenship the minute their feet step on U.S. soil. But there's a catch. You still have to file. You still have to make sure that the government gives you the paperwork they promised. It is not as complicated as it was before, but you still have to be proactive and make sure your children get the right paperwork. So you can't assume that just because they land in the United States, in any of the states, that the government is going to follow up and give them citizenship. It doesn't work that way. You have to be responsible, you have to be proactive, and you have to check and make sure that the papers promised to you, the citizenship promised to you, or the green card promised to your kids comes to your door, so that you have it. And here's the downside of the CCA. Because of the CCA, a loophole was created because it only allowed children under the age of 18 to benefit. So the loophole was created. This leaves adoptees who were already adults at the time, who were about 18, adults at the time that the law passed, it leaves them in this limbo. So they don't have citizenship. And oftentimes they don't find out about not having citizenship until they've committed petty theft or another type of crime. This has created a lot of strain in the lives of adoptees. But there are many adoptees who haven't committed any crimes at all, and they still don't have U.S. citizenship. They live in fear of being deported. And those who have committed crimes in the U.S. are subject to deportation now. So had the CCA covered everyone, this fear would not be one of the many layers to the life of an adoptee. And currently, Congress is proposing an amendment to the CCA, and I will make sure to keep you updated on that. Adoptees spend their entire lives proving themselves. And you may think, no, my kid knows who they are, blah, blah, blah. No, inside, we don't share this information because we don't want to upset you. But inside, we spend our entire lives proving who we are, whether it's because a birth certificate was faked, whether it was because we live in a transracial adoption home, whether it was because we don't speak the language of our birth country. We spend our entire lives proving ourselves. So please don't make this paperwork one more complication in our lives. Have it ready for us at 18. Have it ready for your kids at 18 so that they can feel secure and confident with their own paperwork. So all the adoption papers present at any legal hearing. So anytime you go to a legal hearing, anytime you go to pick up a passport, anytime you go to Social Security, have your adoption paperwork with you. Do not give any originals away. Those are things that you need to make sure that you keep up to date. Adoption is complicated, and in this particular political climate, you want to make sure your adoptee feels at home. So make sure you have everything they need in order to feel secure. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey, and tune in as we do some more adoption talk tomorrow. I'm your host, MC, and don't forget to subscribe below. Thank you and have a great day.